My experience with the flood happened on June 19th, 2013. We were at home and no one came to inform us that the flood was coming in. It was only later we found out that it went into Calgary at 3,000 square cubic meters per second, and when it came out to Siksika, it hit us at 5,000 square cubic meters per second. So you can tell by the time we drove out from my house, the garbage bins were floating already in our driveway, and the water was already up around our truck through the doorway. So we had to rush out of our community, and we didn't take anything at all out of our home. We didn't think our home was going to be flooded at all because it kind of sat on a higher landscape area. So we left, and only to find out that our basement was flooded right up to the stairway area the next day. And we went to relatives to sleep there. I guess the first 48 hours, which was the critical part, it really, our nation people, our fire and rescue team really went out of their way to come and provide support for us, all the flood evacuees. So we were all told to go to the sportsplex. And then the next day, I'm a bundle holder, and along with my husband, he's with the Brave Dog Society. We had to get those our sacred ceremonial stuff out of our home. So he walked in waist deep, and my husband is like 6'2", and the water was already like almost chest deep, and to walk to our house to get those stuff out of our home. And so those were the only things we were able to get out from our home, but we literally lost everything in our home. There was lodging at the sportsplex, and then later on after that, some of us were moved into hotels, whereas the ATCO trailers came in, and then those people were placed in there. But I have a large family, and there wasn't room for us at the ATCO trailers. So we got put into Strathmore. We were there for 3 months, and then we were moved into Coast Plaza. So we stayed in a hotel for 8 months. There was no deaths that happened as a result of the flood, but after that, deaths started to happen from stress, from the displacement. Some of our elders had passed on as well too, and all the donations that were coming in, we were told that there was people that were holding these donations, appliances, computers, TVs, a number of stuff were being donated. However, the word that we got, I'm not making this up, but people were coming to tell us that these things were being given out to family members of those that were holding those products for the flood evacuees. And at that time, all the people were still in the temporary, situations they were in, either at ATCO or the hotel, whether it was in Strathmore or in Calgary. So it was then that we started to question the donations that were coming in. We never heard anything about what was happening with the donations, where it was going, who was keeping track of that, until we heard that it was being held in a bank account for us, and the chief financial officer of the Siksika Treasury was overseeing the donation money. That was where our first concern came up, was related to the monies that had come in, because people were asking us, okay, we donated this much to the flood evacuees, have you guys seen anything? And we didn't see a dime of it. And to this day, yes, there were some gift cards that had been provided. However, we haven't seen anything. Apparently there's policies put in place. There are some stipulations put on some of that funding, but we don't know how much of it, or who donated, or what has happened with the balance of that money. So these are concerns that we were raising, and then in April of this past year, we received notice in a letter that there was no longer going to be community reps anymore. And that was the voice that we had for the flood evacuees back then. You know, the emotional and the mental capacity of the people that were affected, it's getting worse. You know, families have broken up. Many families have broken up. People have turned to alcohol, drugs, substance abuse, that type of stuff. And these are things that we're concerned about, that I'm concerned about. I see it in my community. We're not crying about materialistic stuff. It's not that, because there's word out there that we're crying about our furniture, our clothing, our basic needs, our home. We didn't ask for this flood. And from what I heard through the news and everything, it was forced upon us. We were sacrificed, as well as a part of High River. We were part of that sacrifice that needed to be made and why our community was flooded out. And we want to have a say so that we can move back to where we originally were at. You know, this is what we're asking for, and that we be heard. It's us that's going to live in these homes permanently. And I know that they do belong to the band. I do understand that. I do understand the cost of the infrastructure to put the sewer lines in and the electricity, everything related to infrastructure. I do understand that. But majority of us want to live up higher ground from our current community where we were displaced from. That's what we're asking for. I was actually one of the people that ran for council. And when I went to these forums, I heard, okay, open communication, transparency. This is what we're going to be doing. And now they're on, these people. I haven't heard